So the W and the R in wrong and the W and the I in with are spaced obnoxiously far apart. But, usually this wouldn't warrant a sin. But because AS always sins things for triggering his OCD, I'm going to do the same here.
Black Plasma Studios.
Can you please explain why you're sending the video because it's made by a certain animator? It feels like you have a personal vendetta against BPS. And it's not like people are going to automatically agree with you if you say that they're bad. So, what's the point of adding this in? Also, why did you show that clip of Steve waking up before you said that? It was completely pointless. You should have said it before the video even started.
What is that random white thing? If it's supposed to be a point lamp, then I know from experience that point lamps don't give off a white glow in the center even when rendered.
This letter I should be capitalized.
Hang on, if this is a new startup file, why is a rig already in it?
It probably isn't a new startup file. I'm assuming that Arbiter just opened a Blender file, added a rig, and then had to go somewhere, so he left it like this.
Clearly visible edge of the map.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's fog. I can clearly see a building fade into fog in the distance.
So I guess your little apartment is sitting right next to the sun? Beautiful location if you want to be burned alive.
What? The sun is not right next to his house. We've already established that there's fog. That's probably just the sun shimmering through fog.
Also, the pixel sizes on all these models are jacked up. Some are bigger and some are smaller. What is this face? Looks like he just got home drunk from an all-night party.
You say that as if it's a ridiculous scenario, but it's actually entirely plausible.
What are these cables made of? Plastic bendy straws?
How else do you think that BPS would have modeled cables in Minecraft? Any other way would either look way too realistic or way too lazy.
A Star Wars book? Come on. Who reads Star Wars, am I right?
I don't see how you're sinning Arbiter's taste in books. It's not like this is something wrong with the video, it's just his taste.
The BPS rig never shows its teeth. It's so annoying that I'm gonna add 3 sins for how distracting it is throughout the video.
Imagine adding not just one, not just two, but 3 sins for something that only bothers you.
This play button isn't even voxel based. Neither is this one.
You really didn't have to assign 2 separate sins for that. It's the same argument for both sins. Why not just group them into one?
How are you zooming in the camera without even using the scroll wheel? Also, how do you even animate if your mouse doesn't have a scroll wheel in the first place?
Those 2 sins are literally the same thing. You could have just said, this mouse doesn't have a scroll wheel, and assigned 1 sin, and just left it at that. You miss a blatantly obvious clipping error here, instead going after this mouse not having a scroll wheel, which is a completely unimportant detail.
Also, Steve has a mouth over his pixel mouth, which really bothers me.
Crucially, though, it bothers you, and only you. Nobody else really seems to care.
If you had MC prep, then you wouldn't have this texture issue.
Joke's in.
You can't just click on a file to append it into the scene. You need to select the object folder inside it and then select all the meshes and bones.
We don't see him do any of these things. Therefore, he never did.
Also, this guy is floating.
Actually, he's standing on his tippy toes to see the screen.
Get it? Because teacups are funny now.
That's a mug. And also, that's Sam's signature mug. If you don't know who Sam is, it's this guy. He's an animator at BPS. And since that mug is related to him in some way, it makes perfect sense to use that joke. Also, now that I mention the BPS animation team, there is an error in this video that you failed to point out. Here we see the animators at BPS. We see Arbiter, aka David RB, Sam, and Little Thomas Kid. These are all animators at BPS. But who we don't see is Skyfall, who's another animator. And instead, we have this guy. I don't know who that is. It's probably a partner or something. But Skyfall should be here, and that's a mistake you don't acknowledge, even though it would have been a legitimate sin.
Last time I checked, the whole point of zombies is that they're slow.
I'm pretty sure Arbiter changed the properties of these zombies to give Steve more of a challenge. This is entirely plausible. Also, no, that isn't the point of zombies. The main defining feature of zombies is that, well, they're zombies. They're zombie-ish. The fact they go slow is only a small detail.
Was that a wink? Because that didn't look like one.
That most definitely is a wink. The action of winking is close and open one eye quickly, according to Google. So, since that's exactly what Arbiter is doing, I can conclude that yes, that is a wink.
Also, if the animator can interfere, why doesn't he just delete all the mob rigs?
Arbiter is trying to challenge Steve with the zombies. If he were to delete them, that would be defeating the challenge for him. If you want to know why I know Arbiter's challenging him, that's because those zombie rigs couldn't have gotten into the Blender file without, well, him adding them. So, it makes sense to assume that since it's the only rational reason he'd add those zombies is to challenge Steve, that's what he's doing.
Also, running zombies again.
You really don't need to point that out a second time. Drawing inspiration from another animation isn't a problem as long as it's not a direct copy.
Those flowers are sinking through the floor. So is the grass.
You know, just like the voxel play button thing, the non-voxel play button thing, you should have just grouped these two sins into one. They're about the same thing.
So we killed him in one stab?
That was easy.
I'm not sure if you know this or not, but stabbing somebody tends to kill them. Also, Shadowbrine, as I call him, isn't dead. He reappears later in the Animation Life series.
Adding 10 cents for spending an entire minute and 3 seconds lamenting over this dog that we didn't even connect to.
You say we here as if you're speaking for everybody, but to be honest, I don't think everyone agrees with you here.
Also, come on. You didn't even try hiding the edge of the map here. It just drops off into nothingness.
Valleys!
That walk cycle.
That's supposed to mimic the way villagers walk in Element animation videos, so that really shouldn't be a sin. Or at least one that is given to anyone other than Element.
I highly doubt all these animators have their names and art literally engraved onto their computer.
Creative license!
Also, Element Animation has a team of animators. It's not just one person. Also, I doubt that one person is a villager.
The main guy at Element Animation is the one who voices the villagers, so portraying him as a villager kinda makes sense here.
Just gonna add a sin for the rest of the times the map edge is so glaringly obvious.
Dude, this part of the video takes place in a Blender simulation. Blender simulations have map edges. So this kinda makes sense. Also, if you were gonna mass assign sins for this, why did you point out 2 individual occasions before?
Speed walking while animating.
How do you know he's animating and not just holding his computer?
What was the point of inviting the animators over? They didn't really accomplish anything.
Well, Arbiter's animation literally came to life. Of course he'd want to invite other people in the animation industry over to show off. Now, this is completely unrelated, but if I was Animation Wins, I would have majorly win that scene. The intensity in the music, the shattering effect of the cube, and the way that Steve blinked and revealed Herobrine was really shocking, and the way the music dropped just as he was about to shatter the cube. Those are some really amazing things they did there.
Filling the Blender scene with a bunch of fish is not going to crash your entire computer, just the Blender window.
Except the fish have very little to do with the computer crash. The main reason why the computer crashed is because of Herobrine. He's literally a virus. Of course that would happen.
These guys' arms are clipping through each other. So are theirs. If Blender crashed, then how is Steve still here?
Well, how is he even alive in the first place? And how does he transfer from Blender into Minecraft later in the Animation Life series? The answer is because he's not a regular Blender asset. He's special. Do you not understand this?
Wait, so you have 4 copies of Cinema 4D? Shame. Also, there's multiple Microsoft Edges, Facebooks, QuickTimes, etc. Gonna add 5 sins to cover every duplicate app in this scene.
You do realize that shortcuts are a thing, right? Also, if you were going to cover everything with this 5-sin addition, why do you even point out the individual location of Cinema 4D?
Wait, what? What was wrong with Blender in the first place? Why did you need to cut that string? This is never explained.
It doesn't have to be explained when it's so painfully obvious. Steve is clearly shutting off Blender and reopening it. This is called rebooting. It's something you do if something goes wrong on a program. That's something you do. In conclusion, this AS video did point out some valid sins, like when the plane clipped through the building. That was definitely worthy of a sin. However, for a lot of the sins, AS either didn't know what was going on or sinned something that only he would care about. These are 2 major flaws of the video. However, this video is not horrible, and he does make some valid points, as I said. There are some AS videos that are much better than this one, though.